very excited today. As you may be aware, we sell a lot of work by this well-known artist, and we have him here today in person, and we're going to do a very special interview with John Schwatschke, and we're going to talk about his life, his history, all about his art, and we're going to really kind of learn a lot. As people may be aware, as I've said, we've sold a lot of his art over the years, and we've got some amazing pieces in at the minute, which John is going to talk you through right now. So it's great to have you here today, John.
Thank you very much. Yes, great. Very pleased to be able to talk to you.
And as I was saying, John, I suppose you've lived a very interesting life. So maybe just tell us a bit about yourself.
Well, first of all, my name is very long, and my father was Austrian, and my mother Irish, well, I was educated in Dublin and King's Hospital and so on, well, I always had an interest in art, but really I had an interest in music first, for musical composition, and my interest in art was changed or emphasized really because at school we were allowed to go out to see something in Dublin, to do something in Dublin. So I had to go to the opticians, and the fellow in front of me, we were asking the headmaster, to permission to go out, and he said, may I go and see the president? And of course my eyesight got well suddenly, and I said, I'm going with him. So we went to, then that was President de Valera. We can probably do that still today, I don't know. But then we went off to see the president, and of course after a while, I went regularly then for over a 2-year period and got to know him.
Right.
And inevitably I asked him, could I paint his portrait? And he wasn't allowed to do that because of the restrictions with the government. But he came up with the idea to paint him as Chancellor of the University, and he lent me his gown. He got on the phone immediately to the Provost, Dr. Wilmot, and lent me the gown, and I painted his portrait from sketches.
Oh.
So that was 1969. So that's what, so he said I should do one thing and do it well. So he used to tell that to a lot of people, do one thing to do it well, which makes sense, of course. And he said, I think you should do art rather than music. So that's how that happened. Then I was interested in serious portraiture, really, rather than the caricature works that you see today. So that's how that started.
Okay.
And
I suppose that you've lived, a life not just in Ireland, but outside Ireland. So
yes.
that you lived abroad for quite a while as well.
Oh yes, I was mostly abroad, living around Europe, and then I worked in Arabia and in the States. I worked so, and then I got onto the caricature faces like this one, because the face interests me always so much because of the expressions that are possible.
Okay.
With the face, with the slightest little change of a brush stroke, you can have a sad face or a laughing face. Well, I just find the face humorous.
Okay.
And another thing is I paint for myself, really. I don't paint for the market.
Yes.
See, so that's why a painting has to be satisfactory. So it's more satisfactory if you're painting for yourself, So that's how that happened. And then in France, I had the best agent in Paris, Iris Clerc, and she was also agent for Yves Klein and Tingley and so on. Yves Klein was the man that painted those blue canvases.
Yeah.
And they sell very well now, but she sold my work also. And then I had a studio in Provence, in Mougins, next to Picasso.
Right.
That happened. And his son Claude showed me his father's archives, and they were all meticulously done, of course, and numbered. So all my paintings are numbered, and I've done 3,000 now since school, and so I had the same system, And so my work then was taken up in France, in Spain, in France and South, in Provence, and an art museum was established to show my work in the town of Valbonne, and it was called the Musée Schwatschke, the Schwatschke Museum, and that was just before the European market was being established. And then at that time, we had to get permission from the Minister for Museums at the Louvre, and he didn't pass it because I was in fact a foreigner then, before Europe, you know.
Yeah.
And but on the board we had the chairman of Sotheby's, Peter Wilson, and the biographer of Modigliani, Professor Lonteman, and my Paris agent, Iris Clerc. So when it was stopped, then I was persuaded to transfer it to Ireland, and that's what I did. I brought it back to near my home, the project, and built it then near my home at Carlow. And so,
so tell us some more about that.
Yeah, that was opened then by the Austrian ambassador and Suzanne MacDoodle, the Dublin galleryist, and it was open to the public then for about less than a year because people didn't take an interest. See, in France, for example, and in other countries abroad, there are often museums, and people in Ireland weren't used to that, you know. So it didn't really get off the ground much. We had a lot of paintings, and I had an El Greco there as well, and Picasso and Modigliani drawings. But then it was closed then later on. But then the Carlow county manager came and bought for the county, for the Carlow town collection. They acquired some 17 paintings and a bronze sculpture that I did. Then they saw it was such a great idea. They didn't have a museum, and so they got 18 million together to build their GBS Visio. That was 2 years later, so I was 2 years before them. But anyway, that's what happened. That's the story of that. So it was closed in 1994, but it was a nice experience. But I'm just sorry that it didn't take off, you know.
So how would you describe your art for people that haven't come across it?
Well, I describe it as caricature. These are all caricature faces, caricature art, and they're all anonymous. They're made up, you know.
Okay.
But sometimes I get into trouble if one of these people arrive in front of me.
Hopefully that hasn't happened.
Let on I'm not the artist. But it's especially then the musical scene is very interesting.
Yeah.
Musical ones are always interesting because people are sawing away with their violins and serious faces with the cello and so on. And that's not a great example. But this is what I like doing also, the villages in Ireland around the 1950s. Because that's all gone now. You don't see much of this. Even the man on the bicycle, you hardly see someone like that. And you don't see these ladies now with their curlers in. They're all in Elizabeth Arden's. And so that strikes a chord with people, you know, from the past. And but the thing is, the humour lasts, you know.
Yes.
I have one collector, and she has passed away now, but she always said if she's feeling down, she goes into her room and sits down in front of my paintings, and puts her in a good humour. You know, the humour in the face lasts. You know.
Certainly.
And that's about it.
And so you've said that you've painted so all your work gets numbered, gets archived.
Yes. Everything is numbered. I've up to 3,000 or more than 3,000 done since school days, because since I started my archives then, when President De Valera said I should do one thing and do it must be art, it should be art. I started cataloguing everything. I had about 50 done then from school, and so it's kept up its pace, like Picasso's archives, and that's great for anyone, for future biographers, you know. But a lot has been done already. I've had 3 biographies on the market published already, and the first one had the first 1,000 paintings recorded in it, you know. And that's great when a painting comes up for auction. Then the auctioneer can see the number and so on, trace it immediately, you know. And other artists don't have that, you know. So, but it's really been a great lifelong enjoyment.
Yeah. And long may it last.
Thank you.
So that's great having John in today, and what we're going to do is that we're going to be sharing this with the world, but also that we're going to get John to talk through 1 or 2 paintings as well. So thanks, John.
Thank you very much.
Ready?
Yep.
So one of John's largest pieces of work that we've probably ever had is this one. I'm going to get him to talk you through it right now.
Yes, well, this is called Don't Walk because of the sign on the street in New York where the Stock Exchange on Wall Street. I always found it amusing. Don't walk. It's a great opportunity to put all the people standing in front, waiting to cross the street. And of course, there's my lady again. She seems to be everywhere. And then I sometimes put in a dog, and people love a dog in a painting too. And I mean, there's an opportunity to have serious people and laughing people in that. And it's not an exact representation of the street, but it's enough, and people recognise Wall Street and so on. That part is correct, and there are bits of it which people will recognise. But it's not actually my largest painting. My largest painting was 15 feet by 10 feet. It was called Eureka. It was of 95 faces in a choir at, and that was on loan at Eurovision. It was in Eurovision years ago, and it was on loan to the concert hall in Dublin also. So that was when Bertie Ahern was Prime Minister sometime around then. It was Taoiseach.
Okay.
And there's a photo of him standing in front of it, talking, being interviewed in front of it. But that was a very big one, and I did that actually because I was years trying to get tax exemption as an artist, and that I couldn't get it because I was coming and going from Ireland. And so I did a big painting. I said to myself, well, now they won't miss this, you see. But it didn't quite work that way. And that's how it came about. So
right.
Anyway, that's a big one. And it was bought then by it was on loan to the Institute, Waterford Institute here for a while, and then bought by a Dublin collector eventually.
Okay.
So he built on an extra room. A lot of people do that sort of thing. I know one collector built on an extra room. He has 10 big paintings about 4 foot square behind him. So I'm known in families.
Good, great.
That's it.
That's great. So now that the races are back, and we have a very nice painting in called At the Races, which John has painted, and now he's going to talk you through it.
Well, again, these are all made-up faces, of course, caricature faces, and they all have the excitement of being at the races, but they're waiting for their bets and their horses, and she's obviously won something here. She's roaring, laughing, and this is a character I've often put in my paintings, the laughing lady, because I just get amusement out of it, and of course I exaggerate with the blue eyeshadow and so on. But occasionally you come across people like that who are really similar, you know. And then the teeth like this, all these little things add, and the cigarette, and I think this fella, I don't go to the races really much or at all, but this man I think looks like people used to be in the 1950s or so. It's dated, of course. You don't see this now because they're all modernized. But and then all my paintings are numbered on the back also. So you can get an example there. Yes, like this is the number of the painting. It's number 3073, 3073rd painting since school. And then I have the name of the painting, At the Races, and my signature is always the same, with a big sort of scroll underneath. And then this is my art studio stamp, and this is the archive stamp with the number here. So this number is traceable in the archives of the Musée Schwatschke, which are maintained all the time. They're actually in Carlow Museum at the present time. So I've given all my papers to Carlow Museum and my documents. So these are the last of the main paintings. So there aren't. I've generally stopped painting these now, you know. So you have all the best ones that are left. So that's it. And then my signature, I should point out, is it looks like a barcode, but it's actually the tall lettering of my surname, Schwatschke. And which, if you look at it elongated, you'd be able to make it out. You can make out the T in the center. And I took a year designing the signature, and it was before the barcodes came out, you know. So maybe I should go down to Tesco and try it out, because it looks like a barcode actually.
Yeah. Very good. That's great.
That's it.
That's great. And as we said, all John's artwork is available exclusively here, in store and online.